What's it like to die? That is the subject of Timothy O'Reilly's round trip, the near-death experience. According to a Gallup poll, 8 million people, that's a bunch, claim to have had an NDE. And Mr. O'Reilly interviewed 5 of them, each with a very different background, but very similar experiences, quote, on the other side, end quote. Here from New Jersey, where it's getting real late, is Timothy O'Reilly. Timothy, welcome.
Yeah, hi, Oz. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Why in the world did you decide, well, before we even get to that, I sent you earlier in the day, faxed you a copy of this amazing article,
right.
This medical study about the weight loss at death.
Right.
And I just wonder what you thought of it.
Well, I thought it was very interesting, too. And especially back in 1907 to do something like this. But it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that the soul, the spirit, has some weight to it.
Some sort of substance.
Yeah, I believe it's an energy. It has to have an energy.
An energy, though, would not... Well, I guess... Does energy have weight, mass?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, with the near-death experience, the incredible thing about it is when people do die, they still have their conscience. You can still think the same way, and you feel like you have a body, you can't see it, and you feel like it's transparent. So, to me, that's something. That's some kind of energy.
All right. What made you decide to go out and interview people who had a near-death experience? I mean, why did you do that?
Well, I had a personal interest in it, actually, ever since about 81 or 82, ever since reading Raymond Moody's book, Life After Life. And when I did decide to do it, I wanted to do something different with the NDE as a documentary video. I wanted to use it as a therapeutic tool, actually, not to analyze it, not to have a skeptic, and so people could benefit from it.
In other words, put bluntly, those who are dying or facing death would be able to sit down and watch this as therapy?
Right. Not only that, people who have lost a loved one, people who are bereaved, and if they have a belief in the afterlife, do feel better after watching the video.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. What it does, it confirms that the spirit, does go someplace and there is an afterlife. And the people who are open to this and who believe in it feel that their loved ones are in a safe, loving place. And it does actually make them feel better.
Well, naturally so. In doing this video, did you come to believe yourself, or where were you before you decided to produce the video belief-wise?
I believed in it. I had a brief experience of my own, which I didn't realize until I was doing it. I did believe in it, and once I was making the video, I really believed in it, and everything made sense to me. It just confirmed it, actually.
All right. Perhaps you can relate to us some of the cases that were covered in your video. Okay.
Catherine, she was on her deathbed. She was in and out of the hospitals for about 8 years. She had an accident, I believe it was a boating accident, and injured her spine. And after 8 years, she was on her deathbed. She was just, her nerves were not working right, and she couldn't see, she couldn't eat, hardly could speak. She was down to 75 pounds. Okay. She had her near-death experience at home. There was 2 people in the room with her. They were actually praying for her. And after her near-death experience, she woke up, tested the floor, got up, and walked. She wasn't walking before. She was actually in a wheelchair, and she walked. I mean, she was healed. And because of that, she became a healer. She became a intuitive healer.
You mean she regained her health?
Right. She regained her health completely. She could see. She could hear. She could eat. She had trouble eating. She wasn't eating. Her kidneys were failing. That's probably caused her to get close to death. Anyway, she was completely healed.
All right. Well, when you say NDE, near-death experience, how do you qualify it? Does it mean that no heartbeat, no breathing?
I would say a clinical death, and sure, that's what it seems to happen when their heart stops. They stop breathing, and they usually have an out-of-body experience where their soul goes up above everyone in the room. Or, like I believe, with Catherine, she just entered right into the light. Some people go right into the light.
So
there was nobody there. There was just two friends. There was nobody there to. I don't know if they realized that her heart had stopped, but she said it felt like the roof of her house just blew off, and she was in this brilliant bright white, and she felt this, then they had your typical elements where she felt this overwhelming love, unconditional love, and actually she saw her grandfather, met her grandfather when she was there.
Met her grandfather. Do people describe... In other words, you have a consciousness. There's no change in that. There's no glitch. You don't, in some way, enter a different realm. You're still as conscious of yourself as you were the instant before you died?
Right. Alan, he was on my tape. He had difficulty during a kidney stone procedure in New York, in a New York hospital. He said it felt like a rubber band snapped. And then he was in this different realm. That's how he described it.
Is there any on the tape? Did they describe the specific medical conditions when these things occurred?
Yes. Mary, she was giving birth. She describes she had an emergency cesarean section.
Mm-hmm.
So. That's and I guess there was difficulty where her heart had stopped, but they don't go into the medical details of it.
All right. So they all say the same thing, Timothy, roughly, or are the stories different?
Well, the stories are different. Each one has a different experience over there, seeing wise. Like I said, Catherine saw her grandfather, came into her with open arms. Mary met these other beings, other people. Alan didn't see anybody he knew. But they all have the same feeling. There's this feeling of warmth, this feeling of, as John described it, a perfect place to be, a place where there's no self-consciousness, filled with this, engulfed in this unconditional love, this warm love. No anxiety. To me,
why would
like heaven.
Did these people say they had any choice in the matter? In other words, here you are in this perfect place, and yet they left. They came back to a painful whatever.
Right. I understand.
Were they given a choice?
Only one was actually given a choice. Helena. She had two children. I believe they were in their adolescence. She said she could have stayed or she could have went back. But she said any decision would have been okay. If she would have stayed, it would have been okay. If she would have went back. But she did, while she was there, she did see her two children. She says they were kind of like floating by in a cloud. And she also saw her ex-husband. And then she said there was some type of dialogue. And the dialogue on the other side is usually telepathic. It's thoughts. So if you meet another being, they don't open their mouth.
So even though you have do they say they have a physical sense as though they can see? I mean, I can hold my hand out. I can see my hand, my arm.
Yeah, they could see other people, like other beings. Yeah, but I think the other beings are also like this, the transparent. They're white, and they get this feeling they're filled with love, but they can actually see them, like Catherine describes herself, as free-floating, transparent, floating around. So yeah, they can see images. I don't know if it's not solid, it's transparent, but they can.
So it's not as solid a world as you and I are in right now. It's a different, ethereal sort of place.
Right, because there's no space, there's no time, there's no weight. So if you can imagine that type of